right now.
Anxious to hear what he has to say.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Post Falls Urban Renewal Commission May 19th meeting. Welcome to all of you, and I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our fill-in staff member, our attorney, Pete Bredesen, to please call the roll.
Sure will. Coles?
Here.
Davis?
Here.
Clemenson? Clemenson's absent. Baltzell?
Here.
Crosby?
Here.
Jeltness?
Here.
And Fleischman is also absent. But we do have a quorum.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Thank you very much. And if you'd please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Coles. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you all very much. City staff that's here, glad to have you all here to be with us so we wouldn't be so lonely. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, our attorney, Pete Bredesen, is filling in for Joseph Johns, our executive director, as he has family medical issues going on he has to attend to today. So anyway, we'll move right along. I'm not aware of any ceremonies, appointments, or announcements otherwise at this time. Welcome, Jerry. Okay, you guys have to start all over again. We already did the pledge, so just kidding you. I'm sorry? Okay, all right. You're excused. Okay, any conflicts to disclose for any of the commissioners on anything that's on the agenda today?
No.
No? Okay, looks like we're good to go. So we'll go ahead and Attorney Bredesen, would you please present the consent calendar?
Sure will. Item A is the April 21st, 22 Commission meeting minutes. Item B, May 10th, 22 Commission workshop minutes. Item C, the payables for this month totaling $7,333.92. Item D is the bank activity report, which shows total funds in all accounts of $3,106,222.33. And item E is the financial reports as of April 30th, 2022. Approval of the consent calendar will authorize a transfer of $7,333.92 to the First Interstate Bank checking account for the payables and $709.58 in accrued interest to the general fund.
Okay. Any questions or comments regarding the consent calendar? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Motion first and second. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? We'll need a roll call vote on that.
Yes. Coles?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Baltzell?
Aye.
Crosby?
Aye.
And Jeltness.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Committee updates, finance and policy. Commissioner Crosby?
Committee reviewed the financial reports that we've just approved. We have a meeting in early June where we'll be reviewing the closing budget for two districts that'll be closing soon. We'll be putting together the initial budget for the commission for the fiscal year starting October 1st, and we'll also be working on some policy issues to bring to the commission at a workshop in the future.
Okay, excellent. Any questions on finance and policy at this time? Okay, district review.
I
Commissioner
have
Cole.
nothing this morning, Chairman.
Okay. Communications, property, and personnel. Mr.
yeah.
Davis, sorry.
We have a subcommittee meeting scheduled for May 31st at 2 p.m. at the Post Falls Chamber Boardroom.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Citizen comments. This section's the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the commission regarding an agency-related issue. Comments related to future public hearings should be held for that public hearing. Persons wishing to speak will have 5 minutes. I don't know if we have anybody else other than who's on the agenda would like to speak today. Okay. Moving on, we'll go to unfinished business, item number 7. Second addendum to MOU for Cecil Poleline and Cecil Mullan intersection improvements as an action item.
Yes, per the city's request, this addendum revises the estimated project costs for the Cecil Road improvements projects. The Cecil pole line improvements will now total, or the cap will be $1,931,506.37. And for the Cecil Mullan improvements, it'll be $238,605.91. Per the discussion at the April meeting, the addendum also requires the city to acknowledge the conditions of reimbursements set forth in Section 7 of the MOU, namely that the invoices must be received by August 31st, 2022, and all reimbursement payments must be completed by December 31st, 22.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the unfinished business document.
I move the approval of the second addendum of the memorandum of understanding
Second.
regarding Cecil Poleline and Cecil Mullan intersection improvements.
Okay, and it has been seconded. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Coles,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Baltzell,
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Jeltnes.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, item 8, new business, Post Falls Technology Park presentation and updates by Jerry Decker. Good morning, Jerry. Would you like to join us up front and state your name and address, please?
1106 West 9th.
You can do it when you get up here, if you don't mind. That way it gets in the recording. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
No, thanks for letting me come. So my name is Jerry Dicker. I live at 1106 West 9th, Spokane, Washington. I'm here to update you on the technology park and the shopping center. On the technology park, we're trying to get our building permits for Cecil Road and start construction. As far as we know, so the city's here, helpfully, Bob and Shelley. So we're hoping to get that permit any day. The minute we get the permit, we'll bid the project and start construction of Cecil Road. That will open up a lot of acres in the technology park for development. Douglas is doing the technology park, but they're waiting for the road. I'm sure the city people will tell you everything is backed up. It's hard to get things out, but we're expecting the permit any day. Hopefully, the city's here, they can comment on when the permit is coming. The shopping center has been, I think the city and us would disagree as to why the shopping center has been delayed. In my opinion, I'm not trying to be controversial or start any problems. In my opinion, the project has been delayed because the city wants a roundabout as part of the project. And we've said that we need the plat map recorded so Peak Fitness can go into construction. They're in planning stage, and the roundabout could be dealt with separately and later. The roundabout requires 4 different ownerships to agree to either give the land or have the land condemned. We can speak, I believe that Jacqueline is fully agreeable to give, and Jacqueline owns the northeast corner. We own the northwest corner of the intersection of Prairie and Zoros Road. So Jacqueline has told us they're fine with the, most of the developers don't want the roundabout, but we've all said, okay, fine, if you want the roundabout, let's do the roundabout. I think Jacqueline, and you guys can, I'm not trying to be controversial, so I just want to get the job done. I'm 82, so I would rather get it done hopefully before I'm 90, so that's the problem. Jacqueline has told us that they'll cooperate with the roundabout, and the southwest corner is owned by Nip and Meyer. They've told us they prefer the signal, but they'll cooperate. The Architera people would have to be, the city would have to talk to them about their cooperating. My guess is they would cooperate. So one of the questions that I think, Jeff went to, we have a go-forward letter from Bob. Is it okay? I show it to everyone. So this is where we are. It's kind of a long thing to read. So Bob has sent us a letter on behalf of the city saying that they will build the roundabout. The city will build the roundabout if the roundabout would be considered a public improvement and be reimbursable by the URD. So that's going to be a question. I think it is a public improvement and should be reimbursable by the URD, but that's going to be in that letter. If we agree to an agreement, which we've asked the city for months, let's have a mutual agreement with everyone so we know what's happening, so we can free up Peak to build their building. Because Peak can build the building without the roundabout as long as they have access to Zoros Road. Jacqueline and us will build Zoros Road going north from Prairie to at least the railroad tracks and possibly all the way to the extension of Harvest, which is coming in from Highway 41. So the city, after many different emails and lots of contentiousness, and I'm sorry to say that I understand city officials don't like me anymore, and I'm just doing my best for myself, but I've heard this from other people that I'm not liked, which happens. So the city has now come up with a proposed solution, which is in that letter. So I would like to address that solution. The city is saying they'll free up, I'm paraphrasing, they'll free up Peak Fitness to go forward with their construction, which means they'll record the plat map. They'll build the roundabout. 'Cause we can't build the roundabout until the city clears all the ownerships. We can participate in a group agreement, but we can't actually do anything. We don't have the land, and it's going to take 4 or 5 months, according to the engineers, to actually do plans for the roundabout. That would kill Peak's deal, and Peak is saying they have to find another location if they can. At this late stage, they're in plans. So there's a lot of drama hidden behind that letter. The city is saying that the first reimbursement should go for the roundabout, but we would say the first reimbursement, the increment from the shopping center, which is paying for the public improvements, should go to the roundabout and to the public improvements we're doing on the shopping center. Because when we went to the tenants, we assumed we had a good chance of getting our public improvements paid back, so we made financial deals with the 2 large tenants that are based upon that. I can't take all the loss. And in fact, we got to the point where we said, fine, except for the fact that we have relationships with Super One and Peak, we're going to surrender and not do anything. And when the roundabout is built, we'll come back and do the project. But wiser heads than mine have prevailed in that the city has come up with a compromise, which we think we could agree to, but it's going to depend upon, is the roundabout part of the URD, public improvements? And 2, who's going to construct the roundabout? Because the city could, but we might be able to faster. I don't know, we still have the engineering problem. 3, Peak has to be, we have to get the plat map recorded so Peak can get their deal done. 4, they're suggesting that the roundabout is costing $2.8 million. I can't just give away all of the increment to pay for the roundabout and then wait. There's got to be some sharing so we can get some of our monies back, because we're going to front up $3 to $5 million. And then probably, as part of this agreement, probably Architera and NIP and Jacqueline have to sign on. I think 2 of them will. I think all of them will. I just don't have regular communication with Architera, and I believe Architera has another big project in Coeur d'Alene, so they may not put this on priority. I think Jacqueline and Nip and us would put it on priority, and I think the city, over these many months, is starting to agree that we need a separate agreement for the roundabout. Now, is the roundabout needed or not? That's a whole different question. The city wants the roundabout, and we're willing to help participate in getting the roundabout done. There was a traffic study that I think we paid for, but the city authorized. That was a follow-up to the JUB traffic study, and that said a roundabout is needed. That traffic study really is flawed. I don't know that the roundabout is needed, but if the city wants a roundabout, that's fine. All we said right from the beginning, if there's a roundabout, it can't delay our project. And in fact, the roundabout has delayed our project, and it's put us in jeopardy, and even more important than us, it's put our users in jeopardy. Our business is based upon telling the truth to the users, and I've had to tell them that until we solve the roundabout, I don't know what's happening. So we've had to tell that to Peak, they're following everything anyway. We give them copies of the documents, and we give it to Super One. Those are our 2 major tenants. We have other buildings that we could plan and get ready to build, but we're not, because if we can't get these built, there's no way to get anything else built, so why go through why go through that effort? In the proposal that we just got a day or 2 ago, I would suggest the thing to do is that we meet with the city people, which is Bob and Shelley, and they have many different advisors. Bill Melville, for one, Ron Paulus, there's an attorney, whose name I can't remember, Warren. So they get all this information, they have to assemble it and try and come up with a position, and that's what's taking so long. So there's a number of ways to do it. The city just says, we'll do the roundabout, you pay 25% of it, our share. We'll do the roundabout, you don't pay anything. We'll do the roundabout, we'll get the money from the URD if the URD agrees that it's a public improvement. I can't agree without the URD agreeing. I think I told Joe that I'm guardedly optimistic that we're coming to a conclusion, but it's like a giant ship when it shouldn't be, because you have other people, other users that want to get things done. People like Peak have other obligations, or like, I don't want to speak for Peak too much. I mean, Super One, other tenants, we are talking to other users that are good, and we've said, we have to solve for these 2 users before we agree to anything, because I don't want 3 guys yelling at me. I've got two users. So I think finally, after many, many months, and this is my characterization, they'll characterize it differently, but after many, many months, we're starting to get close to negotiating for a solution on the roundabout. That's what's been holding up the project, even though the city told me many times the roundabout would not hold up our project if we advanced the money for the study for the roundabout, which we did. So where we are is we're waiting on the city to figure out a solution that we all can agree to. In their letter, they say they'll agree to Peak, but they won't let Super One build unless the roundabout, I think, is built. Well, maybe that's okay for 2 or 3 years, but we can't have our project held up for 100 years because the roundabout doesn't get built. We had in our budget, I think, $500,000 for a traffic signal. Not in our budget, in budgets that everyone's seen, for that intersection. And then there's probably a knock-on effect, because if we're doing a roundabout at Zoros, there's probably a roundabout required at Finicus also, which is Jacqueline's secondary project. They just got preliminary approval of an annexation for another 80 acres to the east of us, which without a roundabout solution, we were objecting to because we don't want to decrease the desirability of our shopping center and get into a delay situation where we don't get everything built. And so there's, I wouldn't say a house of cards because that sounds like it. The deal is real. We can get it done. We would like to get it done. It's very stressful for everyone concerned. The city, they're doing the best they can to get as much from, my opinion, to get as much from us in the URD as possible. That's probably reasonable for them to do that. To me, it's unreasonable to have the project delayed in any way because of global machinations with respect to traffic throughout the entire area. Our project alone, there'll be a disagreement. Our project alone doesn't require, in my opinion, the roundabouts. The city thinks it does. The city thinks roundabouts are necessary. I'm fine with roundabouts. We've said right along, as long as we're not delayed, Plan 1 or Plan 2 will work. I personally, I'm always leery about these big roundabouts because my skill set of driving isn't as good as it used to be. And at night, the roundabouts are scary. During the day, it's okay. You just go round and round till you figure it out. But at night, it's hard. But having said that, the engineers seem to think roundabouts are great. These are the site plans, current site plans. They'll change a lot. We have tenant interest from, this is confidential, but I don't know how confidential.
Thank you.
You know, we have tenant interest from Chipotle, Starbucks, a lot of different users who would go there. We think our shopping center, if it gets built before anything else, there's not a lot of competition right now. We're in first place in terms of timing. We think we could get the shopping center built in a year or two.
Thank you.
And pretty well full. And we think it'll be a great economic asset to the city. We would like a partnership of everyone, and we have had words with the city on that. We don't feel, I'm glad the city's here, because I don't want to talk behind anyone's back. We don't feel we're in a partnership with the city. We want to be in a partnership with the city, not just the URD. So from our standpoint, if we can come to a fair solution, let's get it done. We're under extreme pressure because not knowing that there was difficulties anyplace, because we had the traffic report. We've settled with ITD. I think we facilitated that. Our users want to get going immediately. We feel we've been delayed at least a year and possibly 2 years because of the roundabout traffic stuff. So that's my report. They're here, so maybe at the end of this meeting, we can meet and see if we can make some further progress. Anyway, is there any questions? Sorry to get so passionate, because, I mean, it's intense.
I don't have any questions, Sherry. Appreciate the update. It just sounds like, to me, the stress, and it sounds like there is some, needs to be resolved with the city.
Right.
I don't think we need to add to the stress. So when that stuff's all worked out, I think it's time for us to step in and address the city's questions.
Right.
So.
My question is the Cecil Road work the design all done, it's ready to go?
We believe it is, because it's been gone through permit, they know better, but it's gone through a couple of permit processes. So we believe we're just waiting on a permit, and then we're going to issue the contract.
Okay.
Bob, is that true?
Yeah, it's under review with the engineering division right now, with a tentative review date of the 23rd for that final review. I believe it's kind of the final review.
Yeah, but they have a completed design that's been submitted by the developer, yes?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, my other question has to do with the roundabout. We are gonna, before we can even consider some of the things you've suggested, we have to look at the plan to make sure that there was a roundabout in. As far as I recall, there was not. We
Mr.
also have-
Crosby?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just looking at the plan and the project costs.
Yes, sir.
And specifically for Zone C, which is the shopping center, yeah, the roundabout is not listed.
That's what I was concerned about. We also have to look at the boundaries of the district because the portion on the south side may indeed not be within the boundaries of the district.
Right.
So those are key issues, but really you have to resolve your issues with the city before we can get involved. And it's not, at this point, it's not relevant to the, to this district to have discussions between how we'll allocate the tax increment revenue and what portion of the roundabout we could even consider, because, this is the first we've heard of this.
So,
I'd also like to say that this is not the first we've heard about the difference between a roundabout and a
No.
traffic light, because I think it's been over a year ago that you indicated to us that the city wanted, you wanted a traffic light, and I think that's what was in the original plan. The city wanted a roundabout, and I'm trying to be critical. I'm trying to put this into context for where we've been going for the last year plus. And then the roundabout came up. And if I recall, in our office, you made the comment that you don't really care if it's a roundabout or a stoplight. You're willing to do whatever it took to get it going. And also, my concern is that what happens to this project if we can't come to resolve between the developer and the city on the access issue, which is what the roundabout and the stoplight would do. It seems to me that the project has a lot of opportunity to get going and be successful and promote and encourage additional development out in that area, especially commercial and so on. And I'm just and I see just briefly reading a copy of the letter that came from the city. There's indication about urban renewal funds, and they need to be part of that, and here's how it's going to work, and so on. And yet the last paragraph, Bob says, we have not yet discussed this matter with Urban Renewal Agency. And if that's, and I think that's the case, because we were been kind of in the dark. That's why we asked you to come and visit with us and get us up to date. Kind of in the dark about where we are with that, because everybody's asking us in the community, what's going on with the tech park and the triangle across the street and so on. And our goal, I think, for the commission is to do whatever we can to help make it successful. That doesn't mean we just, pay all the bills and take all the responsibility for that piece, but rather just be a player and a helpmate to make that happen. That's what urban renewal is for, not to place it in jeopardy or anything. So I'm not sure where we need to go with this, but I know that next week's quarterly meeting with the city would be too premature to be able to have any discussion without any detail on costs and who's paying what. And we've heard the term roundabout. We've never heard any comments about how that's going to be funded. And if, it's really, on our part, we have to be very careful that we don't commit tax dollars to pay for something that we weren't even really aware of how that was going to go.
But the other issue is the allocation, because this plan contemplated one proponent.
Right.
And the OPA, the participation agreement between the developer and the agency contemplates that the tax increment that will be derived from the development of this district will go to the proponent to reimburse him for the public improvements that are being made. Any sub-allocation of that really has to get down to, the proponent has to make a decision. Yeah, okay, we want to tell the urban renewal to pay, to reimburse the city or reimburse the third party for these public improvements. We want to tell the proponent to do this, to do that. So, there's a lot of, we appreciate the update. A lot of this we certainly didn't know the depth of the discussions between you and the city, but there's a lot of legal issues. having to do with the manner in which the district was designed and the proponent, the fact that we designed it as one proponent. We now have, I think, two between yourselves and Douglas. And I don't even know if we have an OPA in place, do we?
We do have an OPA
Okay,
with
we do.
BGI, yes.
And the OPA, basically, the tax increment goes to the proponent who signs the OPA, and the priority is based on completion of public improvements, acceptance of those improvements by the city, and then submission of bills documenting the cost before we can even allocate any of the tax increment. So there's a lot of open issues once you get to the point where you've got a discussion that the city and you agree on.
Right.
So may I comment to both of your comments? Sure. One, I pretty much 100% agree with both of your comments. Two, because the city is represented here, and I saw them here, I thought we should expose is a bad word. I thought we should discuss the whole thing, because I may not be at every meeting. The city's letter necessarily has to be reviewed by the URD at some point, because we can't agree on things unless we all agree together, and the URD should do what the URD thinks is appropriate based upon the agreements. And I can go along with whatever the URD thinks is appropriate, and the city, I suppose, has to. Also, there's ways, we have not yet responded to Bob's letter, because I said, no, we're gonna go to the URD first and tell them where we are. You now pretty much understand where we are. We're in a fluid situation that I believe can be resolved, but I can't resolve it by myself. I'm just like a ping pong ball moving around between 5 different players, including Peak, the city. The URD document is to be interpreted. So the URD, let's say the URD's position comes out, yes, we think the roundabout is a public improvement. We still then have to allocate what's going to happen to the increment in light of all of these questions, which I think that could be done with the city's help. I think internally with the increment, there's not a problem between us and Douglas. The increment from the shopping center will be used for shopping center improvements until those improvements are paid back, and then they go to help the tech park. The increment from the tech park will go to help the tech park. So I don't believe there's any conflict in the allocation of the increment. It's all for public improvements. So what is public improvements is, you haven't been exposed to it, because until we got Bob's, this letter, we weren't even at a place to say anything, because we've been negotiating. Our position is, if the city wants the roundabout, we'll do everything we can to help it. Because that's a regional kind of decision, although we don't think our shopping center is requiring it. But we just want to get our project done and have a good project for the city and move forward. So we need to know, your position is that it may be premature for you to get involved, which is okay. We then have to, with that information, we have to get something done with the city.
That's correct.
And we've said all along, don't hold up the project. We're not against helping. How are we going to do this? So Bob's letter is the first. I think I can't remember all the emails, but it's now coming. I believe we're now coming to a point where maybe we can come up with a solution that doesn't hold the shopping center up, that's consistent with what the URD's position will be or is. And you haven't been brought, it hasn't been brought up to you, but we didn't have the letter. It just worked out that my update meeting and the letter came together, and the city was here. So spontaneously, I said, well, let's just raise all the issues now, because I may not be at every meeting, and so we should just be as candid as possible to figure out who's doing what to whom and when, and how do we get it done. as I said, if we didn't have Peak and Super One and the other tenants, yeah, this could take a year negotiation, the project would be delayed some more time, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, to us, the delay costs money. Construction costs are rising this way. Availability of materials are difficult. We're on the hook with the tenants to do the public improvements, to do the improvements. They're not contributing, because we did deal, the URD is helpful because it allowed us to bring the tenants into the project earlier, knowing that we didn't have to charge them for everything, because some of the money we'd get back. So, but in effect, when you throw everything else out, we're in some sort of a partnership with everyone, real or imagined. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get it done. I'm just saying, here's what the facts seem to be. I think it has to be resolved also between us and the city, and possibly Peak, who's now starting to look for other locations, and with the URD doing what the URD has to do based upon law, documents, and history. So I'm just trying to elevate our conversation so we can actually get it done, because otherwise we're talking to them being the city is hoping this happens with the URD. If it doesn't happen, what happens to us? So I don't know. So I'm just bringing you guys up to date, and with the city here, I thought, great, let's put everything candid so they can speak now, and then we can wait and talk to them afterwards, because our letter, the response to Bob was going to be, okay, let's meet. We can't speak for the URD. The URD speaks for itself. The URD has to be brought up to date. The issue appears to be pretty much limited to the roundabout, who's building it, when it's building, what is the timing, how does it impact the shopping center, which we thought it didn't, it wasn't going to. But how do we all work together to get this thing done? That's why initially we weren't sure about the annexation, because we don't want it to delay our project. The property to the east is being annexed. But we cooperate, I think, pretty well with Jacqueline. We meet with them, try and meet with them every few weeks, because a lot of their improvements affect us and vice versa. So that seems to be a good business discussion. And Nip I haven't met with, but I talked to him on the phone. So we've done quite a bit to move it along. And can it all get done? Yes. But there has to be documents, and the devil's always in the details. So we can go to a meeting with the city and we both walk out and everyone thinks everything's agreed to, but it unravels very quickly. So.
Well, and, excuse me, sorry, but I just want to add one thing. It's not helpful to us to have a document that was dated 2 days ago that we just now got that has details in there identifying what roles the URD could play or should play or whatever, and we don't even know for sure. I think the light originally was like $500,000.
Right.
The roundabout that I hear 2.9
I think it'll
million?
come in less than 2 if we build it, but
Lessons.
it's estimated at around 2.
So that's a lot of difference
Yeah.
in cost, and that has to be, it comes from taxpayer money and projects and so on. So it's hard for us, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's hard for us to take much action other than listen, and I don't know if we're able to.
No,
We can't even take action today because this is listed
I'm
as
just
an action
trying to
item.
bring you up to date.
Yes.
I'm not asking for action,
Yeah, I understand.
but as long as everyone's here, we may as well put everything on the table, and then a week, 2, 3, 4, because we're trying to move the project along.
Yes.
So all I'm trying to do is bring everyone up to date. This is where we are.
Pete, would it be appropriate to invite the representative of the city if they wanted to make any comments, or
That would be fine if you want to.
did you have anything else you want to add?
No, unless I can, unless.
Bob or Shelley, did either of you
Bob is here, so I
wish to would you like to make any comments? at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Dicker.
Can I
Yes.
stay here in case I have to comment?
Of course.
Bob Seal.
We're not going to you know,
No, I would just kind of wanted to make a couple of comments regarding, the plan. It does indicate that there's to be a traffic control device in the intersection, whether it calls it out as a traffic light or a roundabout. All our plans, other additional city plans that are created, always looked at Zoros and Prairie, indicating a traffic control device of some form. Sometimes it said traffic light or roundabout, but it always anticipated a traffic control device. And as
I'm
you
looking
know-
at the plan right now, and it says signal. It says Prairie Avenue
Is this-
signal at Zoros Road.
Right. So, I mean, we can spend $2.5 million on a signal, but it's the same deal. It's the traffic control device. Roundabouts have become the more preferred method, especially along those corridors. It allows for traffic flow better.
Well, it gets into the specific legislation that requires us to set specific items out and cost estimates of them, and we can't change the plan
Well,
once
in
the
a
plan is
roundabout
adopted.
versus a traffic signal, it's ultimately you're looking for the same thing. You're looking at a traffic control device for an
I
intersection.
understand, but you're talking about the city's wishes versus the state legislature.
And the state
Yeah, we're not
legislature
gonna get into an
the
argument.
semantics
We're not
on-
gonna get into argument right now about something
Right.
we just found out about this morning.
Yeah, no, and,
So-
and it's all, this is something that, whether the city's doing it or Jerry's doing it, this has been part of the overall development of that area, part of that plan since the beginning of it. In terms of, because that's, again, like if you want to talk about roundabouts, we do have 4 planned along that route where at one point in time, there were signals. But again, they called out as traffic control device, and then that changes. So Finicus, Charlesville, and Cecil all have roundabouts associated with them. In terms of the boundaries of the district, it does incorporate all 4 corners of Zoros and Prairie, according to the maps that I've looked at recently. So we do anticipate that. There may be, a small sliver of land on the northeast corner that may not fall within the roundabout. I'm not 100% sure. We don't have a footprint for the roundabout yet. And yeah, the budget was $500,000 because it was done, 4 years ago. And honestly, roundabouts typically have been cheaper than signals in historic, some of our more recent estimates. However, those have all changed. So I'm not 100% sure what signals run anymore, but they aren't cheap either. In terms of we're moving it along, we're doing what we can, whether it's delaying it, that's a matter of opinions. We are still waiting on revised plans from the engineer for the remainder of the shopping center. We still don't have that second revision yet either. We've been waiting on it for a few months. So, but everything is moving along. Cecil Road, like I said, those plans hopefully will be approved or reviewed within early next week. So let's see where we're at with that. Hopefully they can get those out. I don't think there were a lot of corrections that need to be made. So that's kind of where I'm at. In terms of the email, yes, we sent it to Jerry so that we can continue the conversation, because I told him that we were going to sit down as staff and try and come up with a route forward, and whether the city is the ones who do the construction or whether Jerry does the construction, that's still to be ironed out. When it was thought of as, URD reimbursing the city, it was more in the sense of, or in the thought process of, however it worked out, seeing as he is the proponent, and any kind of condition or any kind of agreements would flow through that direction, or if there was the possibility of just doing a direct OPA or MOU with the city. But again, we know we haven't had these discussions. That was recognized. But we're trying to spitball ideas as to how to come up with a path forward to get the ball rolling on the site so that Pete can start moving. And yes, the idea that Pete can develop without the traffic control device completed at Zoros and Prairie is correct. That's what we have determined, is it will function fine. The area will work. Any additional development on that site, however, is contingent upon getting traffic control device put in at the corner of Zoros and Prairie. So. Any questions?
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
I don't know, any questions, Joe? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. there any staff report updates?
Just that we're still working on the OPA with Will Hunt. Basically, we're just waiting for exhibits. We got one exhibit, but we're still waiting on the cost estimates. So that will probably be up for approval at the June meeting, I would think.
Okay, all right.
Chairman, one question
Yes.
for Pete. Have we had any contact with the Douglas folks with regard to some kind of an arrangement with them, or are we looking for an assignment, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
The executive director would maybe have more to report on that, but yeah, I haven't heard of anything.
Okay, obviously, if they start improving Cecil, then
Right.
there would be a expectation of reimbursement of some of those public improvements associated
Sure.
with that. And we need to understand who's who in the zoo.
Right, right.
Thank you.
Yep. That's all I have.
Okay, all right. Any commissioner comments that you'd like to add at this time?
None for me.
What we're doing? Okay.
I would just like to make one comment. I mean,
Yes.
this points up the fact that we, and I think it's something that we're looking to help work on, is that we need closer communication between the urban renewal and the city. I mean, there's a lot of information in this letter that was, or this email that was sent to Mr. Decker, that involves urban renewal that we knew nothing about, you know. And then the city obviously needs to understand that we operate within the confines of state legislature. We can only do what we can do. And we also have certain policies. I mean, if you look at this roundabout that's being proposed, how much of the traffic is going to be serving the residential development to the south? And we don't typically subsidize residential development with public improvements that are funded through tax increment created by urban renewal. So, I mean, there are threshold issues that this brings up that point up to the fact that we need to work closer and in more unity. So that's all I had. Thank you.
I would echo that too, Len, that we do probably need some more communication from the staff regarding some of the issues that were raised in this memo. However, to give Bob credit, I think that he was interested in getting a solution between the two parties, and that's why we're not on this. And I would just as soon they get it resolved, and then the issues that pertain to us coalesced into a position for us to take an action on. And
I agree.
that's all we need.
I agree.
This is
I agree
premature,
completely.
probably.
You know, and I think we all acknowledge that if we don't have development, we don't have tax increment. If we don't have tax increment, doesn't matter what you do, we can't pay for it.
Right.
So it's a chicken and egg issue, and often the egg is much more important than the chicken.
Yeah, for sure. Good comments. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any comments on Commissioner Chairman comments? I don't have anything to add. It's been a good, productive meeting, and we want to do everything we can to go forward with this, working with the city, working with the proponents to make it a success. And I would like to think that if that's on everybody's radar as far as what we want to try to accomplish, and I think we can do that together. And I think the meetings that are coming up are going to be a helpmate to that. And so I don't have anything else for the group. Thank you, Pete, for filling in for Joe, and
No problem.
appreciate you doing that. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Moved second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.